Hey, broken salespeople. So, do you have a business or do you have a sales job? That's what we're discussing today on this episode of the Broken Salespeople podcast. Hey, broken salespeople. Welcome to the workshop. My name is Red Staffstrom, and we are here to help you fix your broken sales skills. So, I want to talk about the difference between being a business owner and being a sales employee. See, that's something that comes up a lot, one way or the other. There's a lot of small business owners that I know who are more sales focused. They don't really focus on building the business so much as they focus on the day-to-day whirlwind of getting sales, of doing marketing, of growing their consumer base. While these aren't necessarily bad things, it limits a business's potential to grow. To give you guys a statistic so you can grasp how prominent this is, 85 85% of small businesses in this country have less than 10 employees. 85% of businesses in the US have less than 10 employees. That's counts a lot of LLCs, a lot of S corps, a lot of independent contractors who aren't actually registered as businesses. There is an overwhelming amount of businesses that have a very small pool of employees. So most of those have one person who is focused on sales, on recruiting, on marketing, on prospecting, on all of those different things. The problem is that process doesn't usually scale. It doesn't usually grow. It's one person who has the weight of the company and the weight of the livelihood of everybody involved thrust upon them. And that's not really fair in some ways. The difference is you need to be able to build something that scales. That's the biggest difference between a business and a sales job. A sales job doesn't scale. You make more phone calls, you knock on more doors, you talk to more people on the lot, but it's kind of stays at this logarithmic growth. There's a certain point where you can't talk to any more people. You cannot make any more phone calls. You cannot talk to any more customers. There is a ceiling on that sales job. However, a business has infinite potential. And that's the way every salesperson should be looking at their job, looking at their career, is how do they grow their own business, even if it's under the umbrella of another business. Think about ways you can scale up, the ways that you can grow, ways that you can take away your own busy work over and over again. I want you to imagine, rather than doing sales, you did something a little more hands-on. Let's say you detail cars. Now, you're the best person all in whatever area you're in at detailing cars. Everybody knows you because that's what you do. That's what you can knock out of the park and do better than anybody else in the world. So you start doing 2 cars a day, 3 cars a day, 4 cars a day, 5, 6, 7. Eventually you hit a cap. And either the quality of your work goes down and goes down considerably, or you have to hire new people. Now, these people may not be as good as you in terms of what they do. If you wanted to build that as a business, you have to train them to be as good as you are, or at least to be close enough that nobody will notice the difference. Being able to grow a business is about being able to replicate yourself over and over and over and over again. See, it's a great thing to talk about in terms of if you want to become a sales manager, you can't just be good at getting sales for yourself. You have to be good at training other people to get sales for themselves. You have to think in a way where you make yourself irrelevant. That's what great business owners do, is they start building these things over and over again where they are not needed. You can't walk away from a sales job because then your income goes to zero. You can walk away from a business because the business can run itself. That's the major difference between the two. And the more you start thinking about ways to grow your sales job as a business, the better you're going to do. So how do you do that? You need systems. Systems has kind of become a buzzword in most industries lately. It's kind of like in the 80s when people said, well, what's the delta? Meaning, what's the change? Just trying to sound smarter than they are. Most people talk about systems. Very few people can explain it in a very simple way. Here's the way I always explain it. A system is nothing more than a series of if-then statements. It's a flow chart. If a lead comes in, then it goes into the CRM. Then the CRM emails them automatically. Then if they don't respond to that email, it sends a text the next day. Then if they don't respond, it prompts the salesperson to make a phone call. Then once the customer talks, if that person sets up an appointment, the appointment goes to the salesperson. It's just if then, if then, if then. It's very binary choices the whole way through. Once that happens, once you start setting up your sales job with these if-then statements, you start turning it into a business. You start turning it into something that it hasn't been before. You start replacing yourself. Is this easy? No, because you have to start from a place where you're letting go of control, and very few people know how to do that, especially in the sales industry. In the sales industry, there's that myth that they need me. They need me to handle everything. They trust me. They love me. If somebody else isn't there, everything will go out in a blaze. It's not true. You just need to start by setting the expectation of, yes, you're going to talk to me about marketing, but then Caitlin is going to be the one who actually creates your ads for you, because Caitlin is the person who has that look, who has that idea of how to put everything together. I'm not artsy. She is. It's about building up your team, focusing on what your own strengths are. My job is I can explain things big picture and explain the strategies very well. I hired people who are good at dotting the I's and crossing the T's and implementing those strategies for you. My strength is to give you the strategy. Their job is to fulfill it. You set that expectation early on, you no longer have a sales job. You now have something where you get to be a consultant and you get to pass the work off to somebody else. That's the way you need to start building things. You need to build it in a way that you are no longer relevant. That's when you start to be able to step away. That's when you start to build wealth. That's when you could start building multiple companies, multiple streams of income. But you cannot do it if you are tied to the same sales desk for decades. Start thinking about this. Even if you are a sales employee, what can you outsource? What can you get help on? What systems can you find, whether it's computer programs or CRMs or anything else that you can automate so that you can spend more time prospecting, dealing with customers, so you can spend more time in front of them rather than behind your desk. So I hope this helps. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Please take the time to like, subscribe, review. It all helps the channel quite a bit. And until next time, go fix yourself.